So I got stung by a jellyfish last summer. Yeah, I remember it just like it was this summer, but it was last summer. I was at the beach with my wife Karen, and she was sunbathing, and all the lifeguards thought she was a beached whale, so they wanted to blow her up, because that's what they do to beached whales. And I was like, no, that's not a beached whale, that's just my wife. And I was making this sandcastle, and oh, it was the coolest sandcastle ever, you should have seen it. And then out of nowhere, this huge wave comes and just wipes out my sandcastle. So I'm like, ass ocean, so I run into the water and I start throwing haymakers, trying to teach that ocean a lesson. But then the problem is I can't really swim too good, and I get caught in a rip current, so I get sucked out to sea, and the lifeguard sees me, but he can't swim either. I mean, what a terrible lifeguard. What kind of lifeguard can't swim? So I'm just out there drowning, and I think I'm gonna die, so I'm looking for any way I can to save myself. And then I see this jellyfish. So I'm thinking, oh, I can just grab onto this jellyfish and ride him to shore. So I grab onto the jellyfish's tentacles, and he starts stinging the shit out of my hands. So I'm like, ass jellyfish, and I start throwing haymakers. And every time I hit the jellyfish, he's just stinging me more and more. And I'm in so much pain, I'm getting stung by a jellyfish, and I'm still drowning. I'm like 5 feet underwater by this point. And then I see a scuba diver, and he sees me, and he puts his oxygen mask on me so I can breathe, and he takes me back to shore, and I thank him. And as I'm walking up the beach, I step on a seashell, and I'm like, ass seashell, so I start throwing haymakers. And then every time I hit the sand, it's just hurting my hands more and more, and I'm realizing it's because that jellyfish stung me. So then I go back into the ocean to find that bitch-ass jellyfish. And then I go out there, and the jellyfish pulls up in a box Chevy with all his buddies, and they start kicking my ass. And they're stinging me all over the place, and one of them gave me a wet willy sting right in the ear. That hurt like hell. So then I get stung up, and it's just a whole big problem. And then finally I'm done at the beach, and my wife won't even take me to McDonald's afterwards. So I was in 5th grade, and the town was having a big Easter egg hunting competition. So I showed up with my basket and my glasses on so I could see all the eggs, and I was pretty sure I was gonna win. So they fired a gun in the air to start the competition, and I started looking for eggs. And I was grabbing any egg I saw. I found eggs in bushes and nooks and crannies. I had so many eggs my basket was overflowing with eggs, and I knew I was gonna win. And then, here comes Byron Easter egg britches. See, the rule was you were supposed to put the eggs in your basket, but Byron, he was stuffing the Easter eggs into his britches, and his britches were so big, he had a ton of eggs in there. He must have had thousands of eggs in his britches. So I chuckled to myself, and I said, that fool, he's gonna be disqualified for putting eggs in his britches instead of the basket. So then we go to count up all our eggs, and I got 37 eggs. And I'm feeling pretty good about that, because that's a lot of eggs. And then they count up how many eggs Byron has, and Byron got 2,624 eggs in his britches. And then they declare him the winner. And I say, no, that's bullshit, because the rule was we were supposed to put the eggs in our basket, not our britches. And then the mayor said, kid, calm down. It's just an Easter egg hunting competition. It's not that big of a deal. And then I said, no, fuck that, and you, because those were the rules, and where are we without rules? So then my mom washed my mouth out with soap for cursing at the mayor, and Byron won the competition, and they congratulated him for being so smart for putting the eggs in his britches, and the mayor gave him a medal for collecting the most eggs ever. So for the next 10 years, Byron would win every Easter egg hunting competition by putting eggs in his britches. And I even tried to put eggs in my britches, but my britches were never big enough to collect enough eggs, and people said I was a copycat for putting eggs in my britches. So back in high school, there was this kid named Randy that everybody called Candy Randy because he would sell candy to everybody in the school. Now, for some reason, Randy didn't like me. I can't imagine why. But usually, he would only charge $1 for his candy. But then one day, a couple hours before lunch, I was hungry and I had $1 burning a hole in my pocket. So I went up to Randy and I was like, hey Randy, let me get some Skittles. And he said, for you, that'll be $2. And I said, Randy, that's bullshit, because usually you only charge $1 and I only have $1. But he still wouldn't sell me the Skittles. So I did what any man would do, and I picked my nose and I wiped a booger on him. And Randy didn't like that at all. He was pissed off, and he stood up and said, okay, meet me after school by the flagpole, and me and you are gonna fight. And then all the students and all the teachers went, ooh, so I pretty much had to do it at that point. So then I spent the whole rest of my day trying to figure out how I could fake my own death so I didn't have to fight Randy. I even tried to call my mom and see if she would check me out of school, but she wouldn't do it. So then, after school, I went up to the flagpole, and there was this huge crowd of people gathered around, and they were all chanting, Randy, Randy. And I was like, that's not fair. I can fight Randy. Randy, I got this. All he ever does is eat candy. I can take him. So then I started throwing haymakers, and Randy just kept dodging them. And then Randy started beating the shit out of me. I mean, he was good. And then the worst part is his hands were still sticky from eating all that candy. And then after he got done beating me up, he took my underwear and tied it to the flagpole, and then he hoisted my underwear up like a flag. And then my underwear had a skid mark in it, so that was horrible. And then everybody started saying the Pledge of Allegiance to my underwear. I've never been so embarrassed in all my life. So I was a senior in high school, and I was a bit of a ladies' man. I had made out with at least 3 of the girls from the chess club. Not a lot of people were going after those girls, so I volunteered. But then, one day, I decided to go after a bigger prize. Katie Knockers with the big ham hockers. She was the hottest, bustiest girl in school. You know, because of her big knockers, aka ham hockers. It was Valentine's Day, and they had this candygram that you could send to a girl you liked, where some of the kids from the Glee Club would sing to them and hand them a note saying you liked them and shit. So I paid the $15, and I said, send this to Katie Knockers with the big ham hockers. But one of the kids in the Glee Club, dyslexic Dylan, wrote the wrong name down, and the candygram was given to Deborah Dimple ass, one of the fattest, ugliest, stinkiest, resting bitch-faced girls in school. They gave her the candygram and said, this is from Brooklyn guy, and man was I so embarrassed. But Deborah loved it, I think. She wouldn't leave me alone. She came over to my house and I tried hiding from her, but my mom answered the door and she thought she was pregnant, and I told her, no mom, she's just fat. But my mom made me marry her anyway. I always wondered what would have happened if I had given the candygram to Katie Knockers. I heard she's a supermodel now. Okay, so when I was in high school, I was in a bowling league, right? And I was the best bowler. I mean, I was a god of bowling. I was bowling nothing but strikes. All the girls were going goo-goo gaga over me. It was awesome. But then, here comes Billy Bowling Hands. See, he lost both his hands in a train accident when he was younger and got them replaced with bowling balls. Now, at first, I thought, well, that's stupid. I mean, how is he gonna, like, eat and drive and stuff? But no, it turns out that actually made him extremely good at bowling, because all he had to do was throw his body down the lane and ride his bowling ball hands into the pins. So I was thinking, that can't be legal. He can't be allowed to do that. So then I look it up into the rule book, and yes, you can do that as long as your hands are bowling balls. So then he becomes the best bowler in the school. He's winning tournament after tournament, trophy after trophy. He's bowling strike after strike. All the girls are leaving me and they're going to him because he's also jacked, because bowling balls are really heavy. They're like 25 pounds each. So I just decided to quit bowling because I can't compete with Billy Bowling Hands. So then I decided to take up boxing. You know, that seems pretty manly. I can do that. But then, he starts boxing too, and after one round, he punches all my teeth out with his bowling ball hands. That's why I don't have teeth anymore. And I'm like, that can't be allowed. He has bowling balls for hands. His hands don't even fit inside the gloves. So I quit that, and then I start doing everything else. And everything I join, he joins too. All the things you'd think you wouldn't be able to do with bowling ball hands, he did. Like Billy Bowling volleyball hands, and Billy Bowling basketball hands, and Billy Bowling badminton hands, and Billy Bowling Future Farmers of America hands. Everything. Everything I joined, he joined and did it better with his bowling ball hands. So then I decided to join the swim team. And then he joined the swim team, and I challenged him to a swimming competition. And he drowned because his big bowling ball hands weighed him down to the bottom of the pool and nobody could get him out. So I'm thinking, great, I'm finally rid of Billy Bowling Hands. He's dead. But no, they decided to name the entire school after him. Billy Bowling Hands Memorial High School. And they even named the bowling alley after him. Billy Bowling Hands Memorial Bowling Alley Bar and Grill. And then all the girls around the school were crying because Billy Bowling Hands was dead, and they were mad at me because they thought I was the reason he died. And I'm like, it's not my fault, it's him and his stupid bowling hands. But bowling ball hands, you get it. But ever since then, I swore that I would never bowl again. Until today.